I'm really excited to talk with Lisa today. I've been doing a deep dive into her page recently, and she shares so many helpful tips and simple information for women. Lisa is a pharmacist with over 37 years of experience helping women through every stage of life. And today we're going to talk honestly and simply about some of the most common questions women over 50 have when it comes to supplements, medication, sleep, muscle health, gut health, urinary tract health, and energy. And stick around to the end because she's also going to share a tip on collagen production, even how to help improve the longevity of Botox. I want to hear about. So, hi, Lisa. I am so excited to finally talk with you and hear all your information. I was surprised when I learned that only 9% of women feel their vaginal estrogen.
Well, yes, I was really surprised to see that statistic. It was actually for women over 65, but they did a study that only 9% of women, would actually get their prescription and then fill it. And
Yeah.
as women get older, we actually need vaginal estrogen more and more. So as hormonal changes happen, our vaginal tissue gets drier. It can create what they call the genitourinary syndrome of menopause. So not only is it really uncomfortable, it can be painful. Sex can be painful, intimacy, but also it can lead to increased overactive bladder, increased urinary tract infections. And so for
Oh.
many women, especially older women who are experiencing these urinary tract infections, it's really important. And even if you are supplementing with bioidentical hormones or whatever you're doing, you may still also need the vaginal estrogen. So the other type of supplementation is really great for making us feel better with hot flashes and better sleep and benefits for brain health and bone health and things like that. But the vaginal tissue needs its own separate estrogen. So that's
So
why
why do women not feel, why do they not feel it? What do they,
well, I think there's a few different barriers. I think one, they just feel like it's super messy. They don't want to have to deal with a cream,
yeah,
being inserted at night. But it does come in a tablet or a supplement, or not a supplement, a suppository form,
yeah.
and also a ring. So you can use that. I also just think that a lot of women don't realize that they need this extra support, because if they are supplementing with an estrogen patch or estradiol tablet, they don't realize that they need this extra support vaginally.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing to talk to doctors about. So even women who have overactive bladders, there's studies that they will not even share that with their doctor for 7 years. They just think, oh, this is normal that I'm going to the bathroom more
Yeah.
frequently, or that I have to run to the bathroom. It's embarrassing to talk about. So I think that's one of the reasons why women just leave it untreated and just, kind of suffer through those symptoms.
Yeah. Well, is there one supplement you think most menopausal women should discuss with their doctor or even you as a pharmacist that they don't?
Well, yes, I was going to mention vitamin D. So that one, it's just so important for our energy levels, bone health, you name it. And even in sunny Arizona, I worked in a retail setting for over 25 years. I'm doing more of a specialty pharmacy right now. We would fill so many prescriptions for prescription strength vitamin D. So that would be one of the first things, especially if you're not really feeling yourself, you're really tired. Check with your doctor and see if vitamin D levels. I have other favorite supplements, but that one is like a level that I would definitely talk to a doctor about, see if it can be checked.
What supplements do women over 50 waste their money on? Like what's a waste that you see a lot of women buying?
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on gummy vitamins. um, First of all, I really like, I know I get it because a lot of people don't like to swallow tablets, but gummies, I really feel like they're high in sugar, there's added colors and corn syrup and you name it. And that's another thing that I talk about all the time is sugar content, because sugar is really, really sneaky. And the American Heart Association recommendation is 25 grams of sugar per day. That is a super, super generous number. People have called me out on that number saying, Lisa, why are you sharing that? That's like too much sugar in a day. But as a starting point for someone who's never even looked at sugar, I would say go with that 25 grams. And there are things that are healthy foods like yogurt, granola. They can have about 15 grams of sugar each. So, that's 30 grams of sugar right there. So you're over your sugar content for the day and what you're thinking is a healthy breakfast. So when you're taking these gummy vitamins, it may have only 5 or 6 grams of sugar. But if you're not aware of your sugar content, this throughout the day can all really add up. So that would be one thing to look for. Another thing is fiber. I know we're going to talk about fiber. Fiber supplements, just look at those as well. They're really low in fiber. So if you need about 25 grams of fiber a day, fiber tablets, you may need to take several of them to just get 1 or 2 grams of fiber. So I recommend just getting fiber through, psyllium, flax seeds, just through your diet, raspberries, avocados, that type of food. And there are so many benefits to fiber, which we can talk about as well.
I'm curious, what do you recommend for, because I know this is an issue for me. Every time I travel, I am constipated. I don't like using public bathrooms. It's like something in my body that just completely shuts down, and I literally don't go to the bathroom for like days. What do you suggest with that?
Well, magnesium, I love magnesium to stay regular. I would just also try to increase that fiber while you're, and movement. I mean, you know how important
Yeah.
movement is. I did actually do a post on this a while ago. And even just like the change in environment, just the different bacteria in the water, whatever, it can cause constipation while you're gone. So it's just that whole thing of sitting while you're driving and then you're not using the
It's
bathroom.
my
And
routine. It's my routine. I think
yeah,
it's not because
exactly.
I actually do take magnesium and I do take a fiber. So I'll take like the powder form supplement and I'll put it in my drinks before we travel. And it doesn't matter what I do. And I said it's my routine because I'm not doing the same time of workout. I'm going to bed at different, like you said, sitting in a car, just not probably moving as much.
I mean, if you did want to use a laxative, just a stool softener, check with your doctor on all this. I always have to recommend that. But, a stool softener, something like docusate sodium, it goes by the brand name of Colace, can be helpful. It's not actually going to produce a bowel movement, but it does help with just making that stool softer, while you're traveling, just for ease. And I take everything at night because you'll have that, hopefully that bowel movement in the
Yeah.
morning. I recommend a probiotic daily. That's really helpful. And then also, if you wanted to go even just one step further, if you're really looking for something a little bit more mild, a natural vegetable laxative, it'll usually just say natural vegetable laxative on there. It's
What about
senna,
Benefiber?
and you
Is that
can even
okay?
find that at a health food store, and that's more mild. So if you're going like, oh my gosh, I just really need to go to the bathroom in the morning, I
Yeah.
have a trip coming up as well where I'm sharing I think it's like when you're sharing a room with a friend too, like at a conference or
Yeah.
something like that. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to
Right.
be just
Right.
off track here. So those things can be really helpful as well.
What about Benefiber? Is that okay to take?
Yeah, and any type of fiber like that. I would just look to see how much fiber is actually in there. It was funny because I put psyllium in my husband's smoothie. I use flax, and even those are like low in fiber. It's just 4 to 5 grams of fiber. So you really have to make sure you're stacking that fiber throughout the day, whether it's the flax in your smoothie in the morning, and then maybe chia seeds on things, just eating those fruits and vegetables, avocados, raspberries, just stack it throughout the day because it is a really hard goal to get to. And I think now women are so concentrated on protein
Yeah.
that the fiber is really lacking. And I know even after I had a colonoscopy last year, my doctor was saying, you really need to make sure that you have a high fiber diet because they did remove a few polyps. And I have a friend who had just recently surgery and really serious surgery for her colon. And she said her doctor said the same thing. Everyone's talking about protein right now, but we're not talking about fiber.
Start.
And it's so important for everything. I studied herbalism. I was probably about 5-6 years ago, right around the pandemic. And the herbalism perspective is that you should be having a bowel movement after every meal. Even for natural detoxing, it's at least twice a day. And some women, when I share that, they're like, oh my gosh, I go every 2 to 3 days. And so I always say fiber is a sponge for toxins. It's just so important to have it released out, release these toxins from your GI tract, even excess circulating estrogen, especially for women who are premenopausal, but even in menopause, you can be estrogen dominant, where you have that little bit higher, bit of estrogen. When you're younger, it can cause, the periods that are very heavy or breast tenderness, but it can lead to increased chances of things like breast cancer. So you really just want to be cognizant of getting that everything out as much as you can and
Yeah.
having at least one bowel movement a day. I have an interstitial cystitis diagnosis, so that's a painful bladder syndrome. So I'm so much better. I was actually diagnosed when my middle son, who was one. So it was hard when the kids were little. I was in so much bladder pain, so I can't eat a lot of fruits. So I kind of rely on having that little bit of flax. I will say though, my naturopathic doctor was the one who recommended flax to me, and you have to go really slow with fiber because I'm very regular as it is, but I all of a sudden my stomach just looked like it was pregnant. I was like, what is going on here? Like I just middle of the day, my stomach is like so distended, and I cut back on the fiber. Not having a big bulk of the flax
Right.
seed at one time, and chia and all this other stuff. So just really go slow with it until your system gets used to it, because you can get that really severe bloating from it as well.
Okay.
And you certainly don't want that.
Yeah. So with flax, how much do you recommend taking flax a day? And should you take meal? Is there a difference between meal or
Yeah,
seed?
want to get the one that's ground. So the meal,
Okay.
um, it's up to 2 tablespoons a day. I was using about like 1 to 1.5 tablespoons, but I had to cut back. I'm back down to like a teaspoon, and I'm still super regular. I was doing it more just to be sure that I'm not estrogen dominant. I have a family history of breast cancer, and I still am using estrogen. I just actually went back onto the patch. I was using a cream, but I was experiencing a lot of migraine headaches. And so my naturopath was like, let's go back with the patch. It's more of a steady state of estrogen, but let's include the flax as well, just to make sure you're really, really regular and we get rid of that excess circulating estrogen if there is any. So I personally use a teaspoon. I would start with that, but you can go up. I have this same breakfast every single day. I saw you share some pancakes the other day on your feed, but I just mix my protein powder and egg and the flax and make this little, put blueberries in it and make this little protein pancake.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cake.
Yeah.
It's so delicious. Yeah, put it in your smoothie, whatever you're doing.
Well, let's talk about probiotics. What should women know before taking probiotics? Anything specific?
Well, it's interesting because I did, when this craze was up about, what were you like in the 90s? I shared this post about in the 90s, we would think about a probiotic only to take it after you had an antibiotic, just to replace that good gut bacteria. But now I truly believe that it is so beneficial for gut health, to keep things moving, as we just talked about, for our immunity, just so much more. I One thing that I really look for in a probiotic when I'm looking at a probiotic is one of the strains being bifidobacterium. So that strain in particular is really good for immunity. When one of my friends who's a doctor, she wrote a book on this, and she really noted that it really helps with immunity. I don't know if I can even say COVID, the word, anymore if it gets blocked, but really people who had higher levels of the bifidobacterium had just better immunity overall. So my strain right now, I believe, is lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. I actually shared a single strain lactobacillus yesterday that's really good for vaginal health. So there's different strains, but I personally get one online that is refrigerated. A lot of the ones over the counter really, they can potentially not be that beneficial. I saw this little thing once, and I tried it, where if you put a little bowl of milk out overnight and then you put your probiotic powder into it the next morning, if it curdles, your probiotic is working.
Oh,
And and if it doesn't curdle, then it's probably not really doing very much for you. And
yeah.
it's funny because I think everybody uses almond milk, or I don't know if it will work with almond milk or
Yeah.
coconut milk, but if you have regular milk, you can try that. But a lot of the strains over the counter, I would I would just kind of take a look at. I mean, I know there's some refrigerated ones that you can get behind the pharmacy.
Yeah.
I don't say it has to necessarily be refrigerated, but just you want a multi-strain.
What about kefir? Is that a natural probiotic?
Yeah, I would totally do that as well. I forget about certain foods that like yogurt, things like that, because I personally can't have them due to my painful bladder diagnosis. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are
Like
fantastic foods.
fermented foods, like pickled
Yes,
foods, and because I have like a shot of kefir every morning, just like the plain, like it's
yes.
tart. I enjoy it. My husband can't stand it. I
Sauerkraut,
enjoy it.
yeah,
I'll have to,
yeah, sauerkraut, things like that.
yeah.
Fermented foods, fantastic. Yes.
Urinary tract health. I mean, years ago, I used to get bladder infections all the time. I haven't in the last couple of years. I don't know. What are some common causes? I know you said we need that vaginal estrogen, correct?
Yes, as we get older, vaginal estrogen for sure. Um, because that tissue gets really thin and it creates an environment where the bacteria that can help prevent UTIs doesn't thrive. So the vaginal tissue gets more alkaline, and we just get more prone to UTIs. But I honestly, truly believe that the probiotics so helpful again for that, and then that sugar content because sugar is a food for bacteria. And so when I was doing a lot with bladder health, so when I kind of first started my channel and started sharing more about my own interstitial cystitis journey, that just kind of came about. I was getting so many messages from women on overactive bladder and UTIs, and I would talk to women a lot. And a lot of women who actually were vegetarian or vegan and had a very high fruit diet, very high in sugar, they could actually be a little more prone if they were prone. Not saying this is going to happen if you eat high amounts of fruit, but if you are prone and you're eating a lot of fruit, that sugar content can really make bacteria thrive. So I do have a certain supplement that honestly it's so helpful. It's the one supplement I get the most feedback in my DMs. It's called D-mannose,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's a natural sugar that helps prevent UTIs. And a lot of women find
Yeah.
great relief with that. So basically, the bacteria that will cause the UTI, it doesn't stick to the bladder wall. It will adhere to the D-mannose, and then it's kind of flushed out of your system, as opposed to adhering to the bladder wall causing the UTI. So that's a really helpful supplement as well.
I've tried. What are the benefits of omega 3s? Because we hear about that all the time as well. I take them.
I love them. And it's funny because as a pharmacist, I'm thinking, okay, you can't ever say you're picking a favorite child. If I'm going to pick a favorite supplement, it's going to be an omega-3 because it's so great for heart health, bone health, mood, your skin, everything. People that I talk to say, oh gosh, I started taking this and I don't have as much, joint aches. I noticed that it's really helpful for skin too. I love salmon, foods that are high in omega-3s anyway. A lot of people, though, do still have a low omega-3 index. So that's another thing to look for. It is a bit of a blood thinner, so I always give caution on that. So check with your doctor to see if it's right for you. I know that there were some studies also that said that it could cause some, heart or arrhythmias, that type of thing. But it was more, I believe, in people who already had that type of issue. So just check with your doctor first.
Yeah.
But really, honestly, I love the health benefits of omega-3s. And if you're going to add one supplement in, I would highly recommend that.
And
And
it helps with
magnesium.
inflammation, joint pain, heart health, and
Yes.
menopausal symptoms. Yeah.
Everything, skin, you name it. So it's a good all around. And mood, I was sharing a lot of this one particular omega-3 for one particular supplement company, and even mood. I mean, it really is so very helpful for mood, and in menopause, sometimes our mood isn't as stable as we would like.
Yeah.
So it's really just a great all around.
What about muscle soreness, like women who strength train? Does that help with recovery in muscle soreness, omega 3s?
I would just say yes. I would say yes because of the overall reduction in inflammation. So
Yeah.
yes.
We hear a lot about creatine. I've been taking creatine for 2 years, but why is it becoming so popular for women over 50 now? Because we hear it about it all the time.
I know it's kind of having its moment. I think because women are really concentrating on that protein building muscle, and I know maybe you can speak to this a little bit. My understanding is that you can't not work out and take creatine and just expect to build muscle. You have to be in a
Oh,
workout program as well,
oh, absolutely.
and but also really helpful. Studies are showing for brain health and also for rest. So if you maybe aren't sleeping so well, you don't feel as tired the next morning if you're supplementing with creatine. It's really helpful for just feeling a little bit more vivacious.
Gives you that little extra bolus of energy. I do it for the brain health mostly. I know a lot of women think, oh, does it make me bulky? I know initially for some women, they can retain a little bit of water until their body becomes adjusted to it. I didn't experience that. But if they take it long enough and they take it consistently, just like any other supplement, they'll see the reduction in, the water will go down. But what it does, it fills it gives you a little fullness in your muscles. So if you're taking it consistently, it actually makes you look a little more defined as well. So that's why I like it. It just hydrates your muscles.
I need to be more consistent with that. It's kind of on my list of supplements that I need to be more consistent with. But I was taking a lot of supplements. I've kind of pared them back because I'm like, you know what? You can't just take every single supplement
No,
that's out there.
I guess it'd be
You
overwhelming,
know,
isn't it? Supplements help with energy.
well, I'm a big believer in B12, B vitamins for energy. So take those early in the day. A lot of people will use ashwagandha. That's really great for, being calm at night and then energy during the day. I would say those are the two biggest ones.
Okay.
A lot of people do feel better if they're taking a multiple vitamin. I know I never really recommended multiple vitamins in the past because I always felt like everybody kind of was eating the proper diet. But there are studies that show, it's called the Cosmos study, that it can help with brain health they were taking the multivitamin for 3 years. So even if you're feeling a little low, I know there's some multivitamins with iron. Again, it goes back to they can possibly cause constipation, but that can be helpful too. So you may even, if you're feeling tired, may even want to have your iron level checked as well.
I went down a deep dive on your page a couple times now, and I noticed you mentioned zinc and Botox. I just recently had Botox. I do it twice a year. Tell us a little more about how zinc can be helpful in extending the length of it.
That was so interesting too. I've only had Botox one time because I'm prone to migraines. I got a migraine afterwards. Everybody's like, well, Botox is supposed to help with migraines, but I was like, I don't know. It just didn't work out for me. But it's a cofactor in helping the Botox, the botulinum toxin, adhere to the nerve endings. So I do believe in the study they did have higher levels of zinc, but I just think if you're taking zinc daily, I think that's fantastic. And I do think that will be a great cofactor. And they're saying to have the Botox take when you first have it injected, and then also for the longevity.
Huh.
So that I thought was super, super interesting when I read that study.
Two or three final questions for you. What questions should women ask a pharmacist more often, but usually what questions do they ask more often but never do, and they should ask?
Well, I just honestly feel that you have to what I want to say is if you don't feel like yourself, just ask the question because, that's one thing I would hear at the pharmacy all the time. Women would come in and say, oh, I don't even know. I have this overactive bladder or whatever, and I've been suffering with this, but I didn't want to say anything. I thought it was normal. Just any question that you have, if you don't feel like yourself, ask the question because that's one of the biggest things that women will say in midlife is, I just don't feel like myself. And it's interesting because sometimes you just can't put your finger on it. I went off of estrogen for a little while after I studied herbalism because people were saying, oh, it's a natural progression of life. You don't need it. Just do the herbalist method. I just didn't feel like myself. So any questions you have, ask. If you're too embarrassed to ask a question, try to find maybe a female pharmacist that you can talk to. But really just, ask those questions. I would say that for sure. The
Okay.
other thing I wanted to add where I've kind of had an issue with this myself is, even as a health professional, when you're in menopause, you get so much information online and you may try this and some things that I tried, I knew were not right for me, at all. And I continued with them. So really just listen to your body. That's kind of another recurring theme on my page. Listen to your body. I joined this program that it was saying, you can have more carbs. For me, with my DNA, I had my DNA tested. Carbs just aren't a good thing. So I'm lower in carbs. So just
Yeah.
listen to your body.
I mean, we know our own body best, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's kind of the same thing that went back with the fiber. I knew I was just getting too much fiber. My stomach was so extended.
What's something surprising that you've learned from years of working with women over 50?
A lot of it is just mindset. Like I've seen so many women who feel older at 50, and then I see women in their 90s, like your mom at 94, who just really are so vibrant. And that's what I want to share on my page, that just because you're 50 or 60 or even 70, you don't have to live, just you don't have to not feel well. You can do small things every day. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Just take the walk, whatever it might be. So I think that was the biggest surprising thing for me, that I had ladies in their 90s who were just so vibrant. And I love that.
Your Instagram page, Fulfilled
The fulfilled
Pharmacist, right?
pharmacist.
Fulfilled
Yes.
Pharmacist. And you also, I know I've saw a lot of videos on YouTube, so you do have some videos on YouTube as well. You've got lots of great information. But so you're stranded on a desert island. Three supplements you can take with you. What would they be?
I would have to say my probiotic for sure, magnesium, and then my omega-3. So those are my three faves.
Good then, because I that's what I take. I take all three of those. But I appreciate what you shared with us today, and
Thank
I'm
you
just
for
going to keep
having
doing
me.
more deep dives on your page.
And I'll do the same on yours. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Lisa.